All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our Students Union by-election town hall. Today we will be hearing from one of our candidates by the name of Mitch Nixon, who will be giving us a speech and talk about his platform for this year. We do have two candidates running. We also have Ethan Poland running. Unfortunately, he's unable to be here today because he's doing his practicum, but he does invite you to email him if you have any questions that you'd like to specifically ask him. In the meantime, we will start with a speech from Mitch, and then afterwards we will ask a few questions and open the floor up to anyone that would like to pose questions to Mitch as well. So Mitch, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well here today. My name is Mitchell Nixon. I'm obviously running for the Vice Student Affairs position in the Student Union. I'm so excited to be here with everybody virtually today. So a little bit about me first. I'm in my final year of my program here at the U of L. I'm a general management major with a supply chain minor in the Dillon School of Business. I've been here for a while. My first year was in 2017, so I've seen quite a lot happen over at U of L over the years, including, of course, the last year when we all went virtual, right? That was crazy. So everything I've been through here at this wonderful university gives me a unique skill set that truly positions me as the best person for the Vice President Student Affairs role. So you ask yourself, why Mitchell Nixon for VPSA? Well, at a time when the ULSU and the university needs leadership, I am willing to step up. I've held in the past and currently hold several positions of student leadership within student body clubs, most recently as the VP Finance of the Dillon Business Students Association. I'm also a member of the General Assembly in the ULSU as a Dillon School of Business representative currently. These positions, along with many other experiences that I've been privileged to take part of in my time at the University of Lethbridge, brings me to this conclusion. Leadership has helped shape the person I've become. So I am a well-experienced in student leadership. Now what, right? Let's first examine the VPSA position. Let's start with the job description. So VPSA is the person responsible for ensuring that a fully comprehensive, fun, engaging, and equitable experience is provided for every student at the University of Lethbridge. Now, people traditionally identify the VPSA position as, right, an event planner. You know, think Fresh Fest, Last Class Bash, right? As someone who facilitates club management and ratification, you ever been to a club's council meeting or in a ULSU ratified student body club? Someone who provides advocacy for the students. This is an essential part of the position since the VPSA is the liaison between the students at the ULSU, the GA, and the university as a whole. I will make every effort in my capacity to make sure these elements are demonstrated well over my term and will give my full attention to ensuring that in proper representation for the students. Now, these are great elements to the position. However, something's missing, isn't it? What uniqueness will I bring as the VPSA? Well, first, the VPSA must be approachable, practice impeccable listening skills, and be able to make clear decisions under pressure. I believe I have all of those things. We need someone in the VPSA with a new, lighthearted yet focused energy that can bring advocacy for students confidently, effectively, and clearly. And I have a passion for this, folks. All these things play an integral role in my running for the VPSA. Now let's just break into some campaign and term initiatives here. Now, I know I mentioned event planning earlier, and I have this to say. Given the environment that we're working in right now, I think planning a large-scale get-together is still up in the air right now. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm not going to try. I will make every effort to, and I will be consulting many students and doing what I can to make events like this possible again. The landscape we are in is still uncertain, though. Now, number one, let's talk about mental health. The year we had online, it took a toll on all of our mental health, and I've heard from many students that really struggled with the lack of interaction that the reality of online school brought. I think many of us really haven't recovered from that completely, and something I would love to initiate would be sporadic mental health events put on by the ULSU around campus to help alleviate stress, induce relaxation, perhaps provide a safe space for individuals that might not otherwise have it. And how about accessibility? This is important. This position exists for the students, and thus I will make myself entirely accessible to meet, listen, and solve student issues. This is broad, but it must be. Due to the diversity of our campus, I want to use my listening skills to transpose student issues into actual goals that we can work towards to solve to improve the student experience at the University of Lethbridge. And also, I'd like to combat student apathy. I think this is super, super important. And this is a real issue facing the student population. I've been a student here. I know sometimes you get tired, you get stressed, you don't want to do things. I get that. I resonate with that. Maybe we need more marketing. Maybe we need new events. Maybe we need someone who's willing to actually get out there and ask students what they like. Wouldn't it be nice for VPSA to interact with students more? Now, I'm not saying that will solve all of our problems, but it will be a start. Thank you so much for listening. And before we wrap up here, I'd like you to just follow my account. It's on Instagram at Mitch VP Student Affairs. That's all one word. For more information and to keep up on my campaign, because time is limited here. So voting is on Monday, November 22nd, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Make sure you vote Mitch Nixon for the VPSA role. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Now, if we were in person, we'd be giving you a round of applause, but we all are, just so you know, we're still giving you that applause. Thank you so much for your speech. You touched on a lot of different subjects in it. I do have a few questions for you, and some of that, like I said, you did touch on, but I'm still going to ask them specifically. And this is, you know, prior to COVID, the ULSU had many events. So we're trying to think pre-COVID. The ULSU has had mixed attendance at events this year. What sort of events would you plan, and what kind of strategies would you bring forward to communicate these events once we're able to commence with events again?
Right. So I mentioned the small mental health initiatives I'd like to implement. Now, I think there's already been, this will probably, you know, spill over a little bit, but I think that the mental health initiatives that we have currently is awesome. Now that's really, really important. But I think the reason for mixed attendance, honestly, is because people aren't quite aware that these events are happening. You know, I've been a student here for quite some time, and you know, I'm not sure if the reason behind the SU not getting out there much is because of the specific faculties, and there's so much diversity on the campus. But I think we could fix this, honestly, by being more accessible to the students. And honestly, I've never been asked what the student union can do for me and what events. That's super, super important. And so that would be a strategy, one of the strategies that I'd take to combating that and trying to bring our attendance for these events up.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for the response. My next question would be, student apathy is a problem on campuses across Canada. What do you think are the best ways to combat apathy and attempt to get students more involved in campus life?
For sure. So I think one of the biggest things right now, this is definitely, once we can plan things, I think one of the best things that combated student apathy in the past in the University of Lethbridge is the actually like the cabarets, the parties, these kinds of fun activities that people at the ULSU put on for the students. And I think that's really, really important, because at the end of the day, we all are just university students and we like to have a good time as well. I think that that's really important. And as soon as we can put these events on, we need to push these, we need to get these, we need to get them on Instagram, Facebook. We already do this to a certain extent, but we also need to talk to students on campus. We need to talk person. The GAs need to be super involved. All the reps need to be super involved, talking to people, making friends, building their network. And this is how we're going to combat student apathy. Make it seem lit. Make it seem like somebody, that this is where you want to be, right? You want to come to this cabaret. You want to come to this party, right? Something like that for sure is going to be super, super important for combating student apathy.
Right. Thank you, Mitch. My next question. The ULSU performs a wide range of services for U of L students. Which of these do you feel are the most important?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that obviously it's a very broad range of services, but right off the bat, I think that the movie nights, the mental health initiatives we have, they're great. I've heard from students before that really do enjoy them and they do help, right? Now, another thing is obviously we have the zoo, which is pretty nice. I know a lot of people that go there for lunches. I know a lot of people that go in there, and I tell people to go in there a lot. I really, really push that. I think that's really important that we have on the campus. And the food drive that we recently did in the ULSU, I think really important. You know, that's a great initiative for battling hunger in Lethbridge, right? I think that's super important, as well as the benefits and the insurance that the ULSU provides for students, especially the health and the dental, right? I think that also does provide a good value there as well.
Thank you. What is one service that you would like to see the ULSU offer, and how would you implement that service?
I think that, like I mentioned, I don't think I've ever been really asked by anybody at the ULSU what I like to see as far as an event goes. Even a forum would be kind of nice. I mean, I don't remember a forum that was ever sent out like that. Something like this, right? Maybe an open door policy, maybe like some kind of an accessibility, some kind of a town hall like this that's really, really broadcast quite heavily for students to interact with the VPSA and the ULSU and maybe like gather student opinions that way, right? There's no service that I'm aware of that's like that. So I think that if we did that virtually or in person when it allows, would be really, really cool. Honestly, just like not necessarily a networking event, but just something fun that students are allowed to share their opinions, share their concerns, share their questions, and perhaps what events and initiatives they'd like to see action. I think that's super important.
Okay, oh, that's good. Good point. All right. Thank you, Mitch. I'll ask one more, and then we do have a few questions from our participants. Our last question is, the ULSU plays an important role in university affairs, having representation on nearly all of the university's committees. What is something about the U of L that you would like to change?
Right off the bat, I think that I've heard from students that there isn't quite enough support for alumni at the U of L, right? People who have graduated. I'd like that to change. I think that that's an important part of our community and it extends beyond the city. I think that's important to take care of those people as well and just, reach out every now and then to make sure that they're doing all right and, see how their careers are going and maybe bringing them in, right? And I've noticed a lot of ambiguity around people actually knowing what the student union does for them, I really like that to change as well.
Okay, thank you. Those are the questions that I have. I have a couple in the chat. I'll ask this one. This is an anonymous. This year, we saw an unprecedented and necessary step towards campus safety through the de-ratification of Greek life on campus. Will you uphold this if elected? Why or why not?
Well, I think that the issues of sexual violence is really, really serious. And given that there has been several people, obviously, that have come forward. I mean, I'm a student as well, right? I've heard the rumors and all this kind of stuff, but I think that Greek life organizations do have a lot of value to add, honestly, on campus. I don't think it's fair to completely get rid of them entirely, especially if they're willing to commit to change this. So I think I'd be willing to work with them and to find a solution kind of going forward because they do add value, whether you admit it or not. They do add value to the campus. I know many, many people that are in the sorority, the fraternities the fraternity on campus, right? And I'm not saying that I would necessarily uphold the de-ratification, but I'd be willing to work with them in the future for sure to see what initiatives they're concrete putting into their plan moving forward to combat this sexual violence and the kinds of allegations that were brought towards the fraternities and sororities in Greek life as a whole.
Okay, thank you, Mitch. Now in the Q&A section, we have another question. Max, my communications coordinator, if you can hear me, I'm not sure if this should be anonymous or if this individual would like me to say her name. Would you happen to know if it's in the Q&A, is it public or?
If it's in the Q&A, I don't think it's public. Oh, there she goes.
You just messaged me. Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to double check. So this question is posed by Kaylee Fleischman. Since the executive council positions are full-time work and executive council members tend to be quite removed from the student body directly, how will you make time to engage with students and what resources will you use as well as what individuals will you consult with in order to do this?
Geez, that's a really, really good question, actually. So I think that, I've been a GM member since April or May, and there's obviously a lot to do with the executive council and a lot of administration work. However, I think that it'd be interesting to simply as a start to ask the GA members to get out there and network a bit more and to really, really spread the value. I think some people are really, really good at doing this. Maybe others just haven't received the direction or the push or the instructions on how to do this effectively. And I think that a good start on this would be giving the GA members the resources that they need to do these kinds of actions to get out there. Obviously, I'm one person. I can't go out and talk to 1,000 people, right? That's just not going to happen. But I think that's a really good start. Even a committee or something like that, striking up a committee that I'm not sure what we'd call it, maybe like some kind of an interaction or a feedback committee or something like that would be really, really cool. But that would be a start at least.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, I have any others here. doesn't look like I have any other questions from the participants, but, oh, wait, looks like one may have just come in here. Yes, so this is a non-question. Having to integrate into an existing team midway through a term could certainly come with challenges. What would you do to integrate into the existing executive team and ensure teamwork?
Well, that's a really good question. Thank you. So, I mean, in my degree, I've worked and I've had a lot of classes that, now this is a start here. I've had a lot of classes that focused on high performing teams, building synergy, all this kind of stuff. And quite frankly, I've taken a passion to it. Kind of nerdy, but I really enjoy building teams. I really enjoy building my network and making friends. So I've reached out to a couple execs already. Some of them I don't know very well right now, but I think that due to my personality, the fact that I have actually worked on being able to build synergy and practiced it, right, between teams, I think is going to be really important. Maybe, obviously I've done a bit of homework on the EC and I've read the bylaws, I've read the Constitution, right, I've read the action plan as well. So I kind of know what they're all about. But I think it's really going to be important to just kind of meet one-on-one with each of them. I've done this with a few and, really get to know them, honestly. That's going to be a first step. Obviously, there's a lot more to work with there, but that's going to be kind of my first step as the VPSA, to kind of have coffee with them, talk to them, what have you been up to, right? They're people. You have to talk to them like people, right? And then with that will come synergy, but not without work.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I could ask a question that would kind of tie into what you just stated. You, besides working with other fellow student council members, you will also be working with a permanent staff, full-time staff of 9. How do you anticipate to utilize the staff to help you succeed in your goals?
Well, I just want to say the ULSU staff as a GA member has been fantastic so far, as every dealing I've had with them is excellent. They're fantastic professional people, and obviously they're trained really well. Now, I think that it's going to be essential to the position to have open communication. Like I mentioned, talking to them as people, right? You don't just send emails. I like to talk in offices. I like to talk face to face. And as far as to utilize, now I'm obviously coming into the EC, I'm not already in there. I'm not exactly 100% sure like what every single person is all about in the permanent staff, right? As a GA member, I don't have a lot of connections with them, but I think a really good step is when we sit down with them, talk about what their position is, right? And kind of utilize that skill that I have to make a connection with them. And then, like, for example, if I do want to strike a committee or something, or I have any questions, I know that Sherry, I know Tracy, I know Susan, might have the answers to this. And I think that that's really essential, honestly, and why the student union runs so well is because of these people. So I think using my organizational knowledge and my personality, I think I'll be able to kind of work with them to help initiate all my campaign initiatives and get things really rolling, get the ball really rolling.
Great, thank you, Mitch. All right, we have a few more questions that have come in, anonymous questions. Why should I vote for you?
That's a pretty good question. Well, first of all, like I mentioned in my speech, I bring a lighthearted, focused energy and a new energy to the student union. I mean, come on, you can feel it. I mean, I love talking to people. I really do enjoy this. And I think that's super, super essential for this VPSA position. I think that alone is going to be a very important thing. Now, why should you vote for me? Right now, I'm a 5th-year student at the U of L now. I've been here forever, right? Like, I know a lot. I've been in post-secondary for a while. I know a lot about what's happening at university. I've gotten very, very, very involved in the last little while. And I think that using those experiences, using the experiences that I've learned as far as my education, using my quite wide network that I've generated, I think really makes me stand out and honestly gives me the best skill set possible to serve the students as a VPSA. That's why you should vote Nixon. It's on Monday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the 22nd.
I appreciate you keep doing shout outs for when voting opens, because we want to make sure we have as many voters as possible. Our next question is, what initiatives, what initiatives do you plan to start during your term?
Right. So I mentioned earlier about the mental health initiatives. Now, I think that it's important. I think that really falls into the VPSA's, obviously the position's vacant right now, but I've heard from several students that really enjoy the movie nights, really enjoy the calm cafes. I think these kinds of things are essential. Now, another thing too is that I think that if we have sporadic little mental health events around campus, right, just simply pop up, hey, look at that, right? Like, that looks cool. Let's go check that out, right? I think if we do that kind of stuff, get the GAs talking to all the people on campus, right, we'll spread word about that. Another thing, right? Like, I feel like the old VPSA, I never really could necessarily, like, even in the past, right? Like, I didn't even really know what their position's about. If we can really get that out there, and this is going to be a campaign initiative, right? I'd like to be more accessible. I feel like the old VPSAs just weren't accessible. You just can't send them an email or walk into their office. That's just not the way it works, right? And I really want to use the things and the experiences that I have to make it accessible, right? Now, another one I mentioned was combating student apathy, right? That's a real issue facing the student population. I will use all the resources at my disposal to make sure that students are really happy to actually go out and do something and really try to drive home the fact that this is why you're here. You're at university to have an experience. Whether that experience is purely academic, professional, I think that everybody will benefit from having some kind of a social experience, networking, all this kind of stuff. I think it's fantastic. I also do have a whole bunch of other initiatives, but I don't really have time to talk about them right now. If you do want to check out my bio on the website, and if you hop on my campaign page at Mitch VP Student Affairs, you'll find more information on there. You could also send me a DM. You could also send me an email at mitchell.nixon@ulf.ca. I'd be really interested to expand more on that.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to our next question. Anonymous attendee. As VPSA, what would you do to ensure events and initiatives you plan are accessible and appeal to everyone on a diverse campus?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the first thing is that, again, I don't think I remember, and most of my friends don't remember, ever like getting asked, what kind of event would you like? Usually you just kind of see it, right? Now, this is going to be easier said than done, right? We need to have some kind of task force, some kind of a committee that is focused upon reaching out to a student outreach committee maybe. And by doing this, I think it's going to actually target, this position's for the students, right? Not here to just mess around, right? It's for the students. So you need to actually talk to students. You need to know what they want. You need to ask them, like straight up, ask them, what would you want to do? I've never been asked that by the student union or a VPSA. I've never been asked that from GA members for the most part. And I think that's a problem. So first of all, if we increase interaction, if I increase interaction, that's going to be a really big start in trying to get the initiatives out there, figure out what we want to do, and hopefully that will appeal to everybody at the diverse campus of the University of Lethbridge. Obviously, it's very diverse. It's kind of tough to appeal to everybody. You can't make everybody happy. But if you ask them what they want and they answer, right, that's a start.
All right, thank you. Our next question is from a gentleman named Riley. The question is, what is your biggest weakness?
Well, I'd say my biggest weakness sometimes, I don't want to say that I'm a perfectionist. I don't want to say that at all, honestly. But I think that sometimes, sometimes it's hard to, stay completely focused, and sometimes you get stressed, and sometimes you just have to step back and take a minute for yourself. And honestly, I don't do that very often. That's a weakness, because then it undermines the actual work that you do. It undermines your emotional health. It undermines your mental health. And I do not do that well enough, honestly. And I need to practice that a lot. And sometimes it impacts my work. And I'm going to come out and say it, honestly, because that's an important weakness. And I think that a lot of people have that, but not a lot of people talk about that, to be honest with you. But sometimes I just let that get the best of me. I'm working on it, but that is currently what I would call my greatest weakness.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on now to another anonymous question. What is your stance on upcoming protests against tuition increases?
I think it's very warranted. I think that the UCP increase in the tuition is, I have personal opinions on it, but I think I do support this kind of a protest, because everybody in Canada, right, especially has the right to have a voice in their, especially for students that are paying already extremely large amounts of money to attend this institution. I support it. I'm not going to say no to this protest. Absolutely not. If I have a stance on it, absolutely support the fact that you're wanting to pay less for the tuition, or not pay more, I guess. Tuition hikes are bad. We need somebody that we need somebody that's for these protests, right? Simple as that.
All right, thank you, Mitch. We have another question from an anonymous attendee. The question is, how do you plan on supporting marginalized groups on campus?
Yeah, and that's really, really important, right? So I think that, again, like, I keep on coming back to the whole outreach kind of thing, and I don't want to over exaggerate that, but like, sometimes these people, marginalized groups on campus aren't, willing to kind of go out there, and they're not, they realize that maybe discrimination is out there. I think that's horrible. So like, I want to make myself and the GA, as accessible as possible. Maybe even like, I think we were thinking about like an equity and diversity committee kind of thing. I think that committees are one of our best tools in the ULSU to kind of get that out there. This is going to be a real issue kind of thing. Obviously, the University of Lethbridge campus is super diverse, and I think that it's going to be really important to represent these people. And I will do everything in my power to kind of reach out, talk to them, and to represent equitably everybody on the campus, but especially any marginalized communities on campus. That will be a forefront of my campaign initiatives here.
All right, thank you. Our next question is again an anonymous attendee. It's asking about your initiatives, and I know you've already touched on that, but the question is, if elected, what would be the first initiative or event you would work on?
The very, well, I'd probably clean the office. I'm just joking. No, the very first thing, though, honestly, would be to make a form, okay? To make a form or some kind of an outreach thing, because I've mentioned that this has never been a thing, and it's unbelievable this hasn't existed before. The very first thing I would do, though, is to try to get students' opinion on what I should do, because this is the VPSA. This is literally a position for the students. And I don't remember anybody, they always talk about things that they're gonna do, but it's like, don't we want the students to have a opinion in what's going to happen here? So I'd send out several forms that you can't miss in your email. I'd also get out there on the campus. I like the posters, actually. I think something like that around campus would be really, really cool. Some kind of a maybe like this, like a town hall, sort of a virtual, maybe in person even, an event. It can even be web, right? We can even do it that way. But something that would be a little event that people could share what they're looking for in the future, what they're trying to get, so that I actually have something to work on, not just what I think is necessary for the ULSU, but for what the students want, right? That would be my first initiative, to really get student opinions on what needs to change in the future. Simple as that.
All right, thank you. Our next anonymous question is, would you ensure that you attend every meeting that you were scheduled to attend?
Obviously, absolutely. I mean, obviously, this is obviously things get in the way in life, right? And everybody's not perfect. And sometimes, whether it be mental health, whether it be a scheduling conflict, right? Sometimes things come up, and, we just need to realize that that is the case sometimes. And most times, I do my best to understand that that's the case. And I would hope that people do that for me as well. But I will make every effort in the VPSA position to attend every meeting that I'm scheduled to attend in faithfully, as long as there is no, and I will make as much effort as I can to have no scheduling conflicts. Once again, obviously things do happen, right? I'm a person, right? People mess up, but I will make every effort in my capacity to attend those meetings that I'm scheduled to attend.
All right, thank you. Our next question is, describe yourself in 3 words.
Confident, energetic, focused.
It's very good. That's fast. That's hard to come up with that, right? You have to think about that. Yeah, no, very well done. Attendee Riley would like to ask, what is your biggest achievement to date?
Okay, let me go with, okay, so biggest achievement to date. Well, let me mention just, okay. In last year, my last year of the school there, with a group of students in the integrated management experience, there was 3 of us. We pitched in a project that was the Streets Alive mosaic. And this was a mosaic mural that was, we're working with Streets Alive. I'm not sure if most of you people know what Streets Alive mission is. They help marginalized and people on the streets kind of thing, people dealing with affliction, right? That they help them get out of it from faith. And what we did was us 3 students, we pitched this idea to the board of directors, idea to the IME students, and this idea was the Streets Alive mosaic. It was a mosaic that's on the wall in Lethbridge. You can see it downtown. It was 4x4 and 8x8 squares. A mosaic is a picture of patterns, right? It's a larger picture made of smaller pictures, and it was an event that you can donate a 4x4 and 8x8, right? By paying the money. All this money went to Streets Alive, by the way, and the artist, right? And you can donate money of something that gives you hope. And the picture is like a dude like this, and it says like hope underneath it. And I think it was probably one of my biggest achievements because we ended up almost doubling the money that was the last 10 years or something like that in the program. We almost doubled the money raised for the organization, as well as it's a permanent fixture providing fantastic recognition and hope for the people that are actually on the streets there, right? That's the people that they want to target, provides hope for them. That's got to be my biggest achievement, at least in the last couple of years for sure.
That is an achievement. Very, very good. Thank you for your answer. Another anonymous attendee's question is, as an executive member, you are often the only student representative in a room with much more powerful stakeholders who are making impactful decisions on student issues. Do you have any experience in situations like this where you need to be a vocal advocate in a room where being silent would be too easy and very comfortable?
Sure. I'm one of those people in classes, right, that don't shut up. No, I'm just kidding. But like, I really do like make my voice known in most cases. I'm just not that kind of person, straight up. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just don't stay quiet in these kinds of positions. Now, especially if the stakes are higher in this kind of, right, if there's people making decisions and I have to advocate on the behalf of the students, I guarantee you that I won't just sit there. I 100% guarantee you I won't just sit there. I really do enjoy public speaking. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy meeting issues, and I enjoy advocating for students. I like it, honestly. So I'm not going to just sit there. Now, do I have experience in this kind of a situation? Right? I've never been an EC member, honestly. I have not done these kinds of things, like with government officials, for example, these kinds of things. I haven't done that. Now, I have been on the council as a GA member. I've been on the DSB council before. My role there is a little bit different, right? In most cases, it's not pertinent for me to speak up. In most cases, I do occasionally have something to say, but a lot of it's administrative work people do in these kind of things. But I do have a little bit of experience, but quite frankly, I'm just not the kind of person to sit there, and especially if what they're talking about in this meeting will directly impact the students, because I love the University of Lethbridge, honestly. I wouldn't just sit there and listen to these kind of things. I would definitely speak up, make my voice known, and make your voice known.
All right, thank you. I have a question. So the VPSA role is very fulfilling, but can be very challenging. And you're also a student, so you have a full-time job and also have to, take care of your studies. How do you handle stress? And how can you ensure that you will fulfill your duties and obligations and also maintain your grade point average?
Right. So like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if anybody caught that, I'm a fifth-year student. I've been here for a long time. And the reason I'm a fifth year is because I've taken 4 classes over the last 3 years, I think, every semester. This semester is pretty much my last semester where I need to take more than 2 classes. I'll probably be taking 1 if elected. That is my final kind of capstone at the university here in my program. So it's a policy and strategy course. I'm already registered in it. And honestly, I love that kind of stuff too. I love strategizing. That's one of my favorite things. How will I handle stress? Okay, so I focus on the end I focus with the end in mind, right? So, one of the things that drives me through like 10-hour days is like thinking like, okay, so like it's hard right now. It's like really hard right now. I need like another cup of coffee or whatever, right? But like, if you think about it, in like 2 years, you're not even going to remember that. You're just going to remember what's on the page, what the GPA is, that kind of stuff, right? You're going to remember what you did as a VPSA. That honestly is what drives me. And I had to learn this. Like, I didn't just like come out and like say this kind of stuff. I had to honestly practice this. And I put practice in over the last 3 years doing this. And I think that's really one of the strategies, besides like writing things down in books, right? I like to write things down in notebooks to just keep me on track, keep the end in mind, and just try not to burn out, honestly.
All right, thank you, Mitch. Do you mind a few more questions?
Keep them coming.
All right, we have a participant, Jean Carlo. What would you do to better represent international students around the U of L?
Representing international students. Now I think we have an international student rep. I believe we have an international rep. Now, I don't know how much guidance that the international rep has received. Now, I think a good start here would be working with this person, right? And perhaps finding out what percentage of these international students are from what country, perhaps, right? Finding out what language they speak. And honestly, it doesn't need to be a huge event, doesn't need to be crazy. But I mean, part of the whole VPSA position is throwing events. I think it'd be interesting to put initiatives that focus on these specific cultures. Maybe there's somebody from Greece, for example, or from India or something. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if this person had the opportunity to put on a little event or put on some kind of an exposition of their country or something like that? I think that'd be really cool. That would be working with the international rep, though. Obviously, I don't have a whole lot of experience, working with international students. I have friends that have been paired with exchange students. I have friends that have been paired with international students. So I think that talking to those individuals would give me a real big sense of what we could do to kind of start work on that. And I think that'd be a really cool initiative, though.
All right, thank you. I have a question for you. As a management student, I'm sure you've done many team projects.
Very much.
So are you willing to step forward? Again, you have many items in your portfolio, but how are you as a team player?
Well, I know I mentioned it in my speech, but my whole thing is I bring a lighthearted yet focused viewpoint to every team. That's what I do, right? That's what I focus on. That's what I've tried to bring to every team. Now, the thing about this is sometimes you work with team members and you have to deal with adversity, right? And this is just something that comes along working with teams. This is also something I practice, right? Everything's not always great when you're working with a team, right? And so say somebody has a really strong opinion, right? You need to work to the root of why they got to this opinion. And if you have your opinion, the other person has an opinion, there's a clash, you need to work together. You need to understand why that person thinks the way. You need to understand the psychology behind it. You need to understand, where their viewpoint it comes from. You need to put yourself in their shoes, right? These are all ways that I deal with adversity in teams. Now, as far as building synergy with teams, you need to understand a lot of people just are kind of shy when they work with, I try not to be, of course, that's another thing you need to practice. I try not to be. I try to understand that every one of these people, usually that I work with in the management classes that I've been, are just like me. They're just university students, right? So you need to talk to them like that. You need to talk to them like people, not just a stranger, right? If you get to know them, get to talk to them, right? I find that really helps to open up their viewpoint and understand why they're coming the way they are, whatever. And the final thing is you need properly to have a team working. You need to have a proper team charter. This is totally overlooked for so many people. If you have a guiding document, it's like, this is our goal. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. Oh my, it works so much better to build synergy. It's so effective. And honestly, not many teams do it. Why they don't do that? I guess they just don't practice it. Or you should take Craig Milner's class. But yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. I think we'll have time for 2 more questions. I know some people have 1 o'clock appointments. So we will allow for 2 more questions, and an anonymous attendee would like to ask, what would you do to better integrate first-year students to the university?
Oh. Now, I think that a lot of first-year students, quite a few, live on campus. Now, as a VPSA, I think that first of all, ORS, they do a great job. They do a fantastic job. And a lot of people, I think, in ORS are great. They put on events, they put on all kinds of things on campus. And I think that just working with them to make sure these things continue is going to be essential right off the bat. A lot of first year students living on campus. Now, another thing is that you need to understand that as a first year student, I remember being a first year student. I think everyone else does. It's pretty overwhelming, especially if you come from maybe a small town or something. You come to this university, it's kind of overwhelming. It's like, holy cow, where do I even start, right? So you just tell them right off the bat. And I think I got told this in my first year, but I didn't get involved until my 3rd year. Can you believe that? Is if you get involved with a student club, whether it be anything, you like to play piano, hey, just join a music club or something. You like history, how about you join the history club, right? If you join a club in your first year, I guarantee you that your experience at the University of Lethbridge will be a lot better. Now, how will we do this, right? That comes back to getting started. That comes back to the whole accessibility thing, right? That comes back to the whole spreading of information around. I think that if we just get, and obviously you can't make everybody happy. You can't tour around the campus and talk to 7,000 people. But if you get started, put something on paper and you get talking to people and you make sure that on our, for example, our social media or something, or maybe in their packages when they get accepted to the University of Lethbridge, hey, get involved. You're really gonna not regret that. You're gonna have a great experience because of it. Something like that.
All right, thank you. And we have one final question, and that is, what is the best way to connect with you further after the town hall today?
All right, give me a second. Just bear with me for a second here. This is what I'm gonna do. I should have done this beforehand, but do you mind if, just give me a second here, okay?
Sure. While you're doing that, I'll just, I realized I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Sherry Picarni. I'm the General Manager of the Students Union and the Chief Returning Officer for the election today. And if anyone has questions about the election, you're welcome to email me at su.manager@uleth.ca or drop by the Students Union office. I want to remind everyone that voting does start Monday, November 22nd at 9 a.m. and will continue through Wednesday, the 24th at 3 p.m. And we will be making an announcement shortly thereafter of who's won the position. I also will be sending out mass emails to everyone to remind them to vote. Are you ready, Mitch, now? Or?
Yes, thank you, Sherry. This is kind of ghetto. You see that, Mitch? MITCH right? Student Affairs. You look that up on Instagram, just like sauce me a follow and literally DM me and like we can talk. That's a good way to really get involved, right? And that's informal. If you do want to talk a little formally, here is my student email, right? mitchellnixon@uleth.ca. First dot last name at uleth.ca. You can email me there. I'll probably get back to you pretty quickly. This is a passion of mine. Those are the two best ways. Honestly, I'm not going to overcomplicate things. Those are the two best ways. We got one informal and one formal. However you wish to contact me is up to you.
All right, thank you so much. We will also have your information on our website as well. I do want to just remind everyone again that we have two candidates running for the VPSA position. We have Ethan Pullen. Unfortunately, he was not able to be here today because he's doing his practicum, but he does invite everyone to contact him if you have questions. And then of course, today we have Mitch Nixon. And I really want to thank you, Mitch, for letting us pepper you with questions today and for attending our town hall. I also like to thank Max, our communications coordinator, for arranging this, and also for all of our attendees that have participated today. Thank you so much for showing up and showing your school spirit. I invite everyone to vote. We need every vote. I will send an email, and just thanks again to everyone that has come today.